welcome to the NancoVerse podcast, where we discuss what's happening in this crazy universe of ours through my lens and my mic. Today is the 5th of February 2022, and I wanted to just get this template sorted because I want my listeners to know what date it is. Sometimes this is the most important thing to know. Like, you wake up in the morning and somebody asks you what the date is, and if you don't have a watch that tells you what the date is, or you don't have a calendar like me, it is so easy to lose track of time, and then you start to question your entire life. It's such an existential question. What is the date today, man? Like, especially if like somebody older asks you this question, like say your grandparents ask you, "Hey, what's the date?" And then you have this moment of shame because you're just so lost in your own bloody world that you don't even know what the damn date is. So today is the 5th of February, and I hope everyone is having a good life. Hydration is important, breathing is important. Wake up in the morning and don't touch your phone. And let's get on with today. Winter chill. I am making this podcast out of Delhi, and it is so damn cold here. It is so damn cold. I really feel for you if your girlfriend is or your partner is asking you for sexy pictures, because it is so hard to be without clothes. Even if a little bit of her flesh is exposed, it is so hard to just feel the warmth because there is none. And with all the cloud cover, sometimes there is no sun, and we're just walking around like zombies. And I did not want to take this podcast on a weird tangent to begin with. But yeah, sometimes that's what you gotta do. And I really, really hope that people are smiling more often, because I ended the last podcast by saying, I hope we keep smiling more and more and more. A smile is a symbol to the universe. A smile is a sign to the universe that you're doing okay. And it's a sign to the loved ones around you that things are going to be fine and I'm doing okay. And a little bit of optimism is all we need sometimes, especially when we have a country like China above our heads. As you guys might have heard, China has started the Winter Olympics in their country, and there are a lot of protests are happening across the world. I don't know if in China, do people in China even protest? Xi Jinping, man, that guy has a hold of his country, because even if there are protests happening in China, you will never hear about them. The Uyghur Muslims, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correct, Uyghur Muslims, back in the day when Hitler was the chancellor of Germany and he was prosecuting all the Jews in the concentration camps, people wanted, I don't know if people were protesting against that, but a very similar situation is happening in China, where the Uyghur Muslims are being put in the concentration camps and they're being prosecuted and culturally washed away, because they don't subscribe to the hegemonic society of China, which is I'm forgetting Yan Chinese, some Chinese. I have to do more research on this. But the Winter Olympics have started in China, and the Indian contingent, which has only one guy actually from Jammu and Kashmir. He's a skier. His name is Arif Khan. Arif Khan, I want to wish you all the luck, and I really, really hope that you do well. You do not have to win a medal, man, because we put too much pressure on our athletes, and most of us don't end up doing that well. But I really, really hope that you do well, Arif Khan. He is literally the lone competitor from our contingent. So a big shout out to Arif Khan and the skier Arif Khan from Jammu and Kashmir. I hope you do well. And there's a beautiful picture of him in the Indian Express holding the Indian flag behind the 5 rings of the Olympics. And that was at the opening of the Beijing Winter Olympics on Friday. India happens to be diplomatically boycotting the event, diplomatically boycotting the opening and the closing ceremonies over China's torch-bearer pick, who happens to be a soldier involved in the Galwan incident. First, China puts the entire world through turmoil because of the coronavirus pandemic, and then they go and kill our soldiers in Galwan. And then for the Winter Olympics, they give the torch to be bared by a soldier that was involved in the Galwan incident. It's a shame. It is tragic, and it is so difficult for the Chinese to understand, because Chinese don't really understand, man. They're doing well for themselves, at least economically speaking, and we really don't know what the trajectory of the world is. There's a lot of like conflict going around Ukraine and Russia, and United States is getting involved. Just yesterday, United States sent about 3,500 soldiers to Romania, which happens to be very close to Ukraine. So the world might be headed towards another war, or if it's not really going on right now. A lot of people, when you say, oh, the third world war is gonna happen, man, some people come up and say, bro, don't you know it's already happening? And you really don't know what to make of that, because now we have the nuclear weapons as well. So are we gonna drop nuclear weapons on each other? Is the war going on, or is it gonna start? Who the hell knows? But I really, really hope and pray that the Chinese get their act together, and India has diplomatically boycotted the event, but they have still sent an athlete, the only guy. We don't really do winter sports in India, man. Yeah, winter sports are not really our thing. Actually, sports is not really our thing, but winter sports in particular are not our thing. Yeah, that's why we only have one guy, and I hope he does well. Arif Khan, I'm rooting for you. So I want to kickstart. So I want to kickstart the podcast with some city news about Delhi, and this is actually quite ground shaking, especially for people who are involved in the event and people who are getting affected by not being paid for their work. Man, imagine being a doctor, imagine being a sanitation worker and not being paid since October of last year. And this, you hear a lot happening in our country, that, our workers are not being paid. So it's like, where is the money going, and why are these people even, okay with it? Actually, they're not. That's why they were striking. And the headline reads, 100 doctors of East MCD, which is the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, hospital fired for strike over salary delay. Imagine being a worker and not being paid for your work. I mean, the last thing you would do is go on a strike, right? And these guys went on a strike, and now they are, they're fired. So around 100 senior and junior resident doctors from East Delhi Municipal Corporation run Swami Dayanand Hospital have been considered terminated for striking work to demand the payment of backlog salaries. Hey, they're like, just pay me, man, pay in full. But yeah, they've been terminated. That's very sad. All other all other contractual doctors of DNB residents, junior doctors who work as residents while studying for their specialization, have been marked absent for 3 days that the hospital has been on a complete shutdown. Wow. All seniors and juniors of your departments will be considered terminated from 4th of Feb, and fresh interviews will be conducted accordingly, says the circular issued by the hospital's medical superintendent. Dr. Mohammad Qasim, Secretary Resident Doctors Association of Hospitals, said, the order states that if we do not report to work today, we will be considered terminated. We did not report to work. There has been no fresh interview call, but the order has also not been withdrawn. He said the doctors were assured the salary for 1 month only, and a general body meeting will be held tonight or tomorrow morning to decide whether the strike will continue or not. All workers in the hospital, including nurses, sanitation workers, along with doctors, haven't received salaries since October. This is so sad, man. Like, imagine putting in so much hard work throughout the pandemic and not getting paid your salaries. How else is one supposed to function in this capitalist society of ours if you don't have any money? Your partners are gonna leave you, your family is gonna curse you. You're not gonna be able to buy anything from Zomato if you have no money, man. And no pay, no work is a strike that the doctors and sanitation workers went on, and now they're being asked to go away because in India you have plenty of people taking up jobs which you never get paid for, which is so weird. We have been writing to the administration, partially. Some of us were staying away from work in the beginning of January, after which the salary for the month of October was released for all of us. but the salary for 3 months is still pending, and even senior doctors have joined the strike now. However, the administration is looking for the weakest links and singling them out to punish them for the strike. Weakest links are always. This is very sad. Emergency services at the hospital have stopped, and patients are being referred to the Delhi government run Guru Tegh Bahadur Hospital nearby. Medical Superintendent Dr. Rajni Khedwal, however, said the move was taken since many of the resident doctors who are protesting aren't even owed salaries. Here's a twist. We conduct fresh interviews each month to hire resident doctors for a contractual 44 days, and their services are thereafter extended if they want to stay based on reports of their work from the HODs, head of departments, I guess. Yeah. Many doctors who are striking work haven't completed 1 month of their service and aren't owed salaries. I know a few who joined services only 5 days back. If they rejoin work, I can at least run the emergency services. Although some resident doctors may be new, the order does not target just them. It covers all the resident doctors, even those who have been working since before October. Staff at North and East MCD run hospitals have gone on a strike several times in the past over delayed salaries. Man, the system needs to be overhauled and looked at really efficiently because patients suffer. Patients suffer because of a misunderstanding between doctors and them not being paid or them not even being owed salaries. I mean, if I studied for 5 years, the least I would expect is money, and money is not being given. So I don't know what's really happening, but I hope they get it together. But this next news item is something that I feel very personally about as well because I had a family member, very close family member, who had cancer and they had to get treatment. This is pre-COVID, but now because of the COVID pandemic, a lot of cancer patients are having a lot of trouble because of dip in surgeries, delayed diagnosis, treatments are not happening at the pace that they need to happen, and because of this pandemic, a lot of patients who have very serious morbidities are not being looked after, and I really hope there is a solution to this problem. But I would like to read this article written by Anona Dutt. Anona Dutt, yes. 2 years of the pandemic have severely hampered cancer treatment. I can only imagine, man. This my heart really cries for people who are cancer patients during this pandemic. I really pray and hope that they get better. But getting back to the article, 2 years of the pandemic have severely hampered cancer treatment, resulting in a delay in seeking care and diagnosis, surgeries being pushed back, and patients discontinuing treatment, said experts this World Cancer Day. No, today's World Cancer Day. Quote, when there is a surge and related lockdowns or hospital closures for other treatments, patients who have already been diagnosed and are under treatment falter, miss schedules, and sometimes completely give up treatment. We have seen that compliance falls in such situations. Then there are patients who have symptoms but do not or cannot seek timely care. By the time they're diagnosed, they are at advanced stages of cancer and the prognosis is poorer, said Dr. Prashant Mathur, director of ICMR's National Center for Disease Informatics and Research. The data for National Cancer Registry is collected and reported by the institute. They have collected data on the impact of the pandemic on cancer care over the 2 years, which is currently being analyzed, Dr. Mathur said. Nowadays, telemedicine is picking up and that is benefiting people. Telemedicine, there are efforts being made by hospitals to reach out to patients. Patients from one part of the country do not have to travel just to seek care. They can go to a nearby center and a specialist consultation can be sought through telemedicine so that there is no delay, he said. However, repeated closures of services have resulted in fewer surgeries and patients coming back with their disease having progressed even at a premier institute such as the AIIMS. There was a 12% to 50% reduction in the number of cancer surgeries performed for different cancer sites at AIIMS in 2020 as compared to 2019, as per hospital data. Just because there was a reduction in surgeries doesn't mean that there was a reduction in the need for having surgeries, which is extremely sad. Imagine not getting the surgery you need because of whatever circumstances. Quote, when those who were supposed to undergo the surgery aren't able to due to COVID-19 situation, we try to manage them with metronomic therapy. Metronomic therapy is a new type of chemotherapy where lower doses are given orally, repeatedly, over a long period. In around 40% patients, despite being given the metronomic therapy, the disease progressed, said Dr. M.D. Ray, professor of oncology at AIIMS. Even though there are always queues for surgeries, the doctors before the pandemic prioritized those who needed surgeries urgently, so such situations did not arise, he said. Dr. Abhishek Shankar, an alumnus of the same institute and currently an associate professor at AIIMS Patna, said that there are as many as 1 lakh cancer patients who remained undiagnosed every month during the pandemic. 1 lakh cancer patients who remained undiagnosed every month. This is so hard hitting and such. Anyway, the theme for this year's Cancer Day is Close the Care Gap. However, the pandemic has only resulted in an increase of this gap, with people facing job loss, wage loss, and decline in their incomes. The disparity in cancer care has gone up, and when there is a difference in access, there will be worse outcomes. Plus, 90% of cancer treatment centers in the country are in urban areas, while 75% of the country lives in rural areas. People have to go to cities for treatment, and for that, they need resources. It is also difficult to do this when there are restrictions in place because of the pandemic. Just yesterday, I was reading an article about the coal transportation happening in villages in Orissa and how there are like 400 trucks passing every day through their village, and people are having respiratory problems and all kinds of health outcomes. And these are villages where people are facing the brunt of the need for development of our country, the need for electricity production. And this statistic completely blows my mind away when it says that 90% of cancer treatment centers in the country are in urban areas, while 75% of the country lives in rural areas. So 75 out of 100 people live in rural areas, but 90 out of 100 cancer treatment centers are in urban areas. The people who are facing the brunt of our need for development, where all the production happens, where the transportation happens, where their pristine nature is being destroyed because of our need for resources, those same people have to then move and pack, and they don't make the same amount of money. Nobody can convince me otherwise. People in rural areas do not make the same amount of money. I mean, yes, people are going to hear this and be like, no man, you don't know farmers make so much more money. Yes, I understand. But I'm talking about majority of the Indians that we never hear of. The poorer sections of our society, the Dalits, the people who are not making a lot of money. And not just Dalits, but like people from all across, all spectrums who live in rural areas and are going through morbidities like cancer. They're not able to receive the care they need because most of the centers are concentrated in the urban areas where most of the money is. It is extremely disheartening to hear this, and I really hope that if my voice can make a difference and if somebody can listen to this. I do not know how to address this situation, and this is so personal to me because I've lost a family member to cancer, so I can understand when people do not receive the care that they need. Even though my family member, they receive the care that they need, it is such a hard hitting disease, and anybody who has a family member or a friend who's going through a situation like this would completely understand what I'm saying. That cancer patients need a lot of care. They need understanding and they need medical care, most importantly. And I cannot even imagine not having that as a caregiver or as a patient. So I really hope that we have put behind the gap, I hope that this theme of this year's Cancer Day, Close the Care Gap, is met and this gap is reduced, and people who need the care get the care that they need and deserve. This is my prayer out into the universe. All right, so moving on to the next piece of news that we have is from a state called Uttar Pradesh, which is usually known for really bad news of crime. And I mean, let's be honest, Uttar Pradesh has a very bad reputation in general. Wherever you go throughout the country, whenever people talk about Uttar Pradesh, people just talk about how weird it is and how people are. There's a lot of crime against women and crime in general, and everybody has watched Mirzapur. But this is a very very interesting news that's come out of Uttar Pradesh, which has become the center for ethanol production, and it has taken over Maharashtra as the top sugarcane producer. But the good news is that sugarcane is also a very good source for ethanol, and ethanol can be a solution for the carbon neutrality that the world is kind of working towards. So yeah, the it's an this is an editorial written by Harish Damodaran, who is the writer is a National Rural Affairs and Agriculture editor of the Indian Express and senior fellow, Center for Policy Research. And the headline goes, Making of Ganna Pradesh. Really nice. Okay, here we go. Success stories are those that have definite, durable, and widespread impact. Uttar Pradesh's sugarcane industry qualifies as one on all counts. The state has overtaken Maharashtra to be India's top sugarcane producer in the last 5 seasons, from 2016-17 till today. It has also become the largest ethanol producer and the only state to achieve 10% blending in petrol in 2020-21, 1 year ahead of the target for all India. These are not overnight accomplishments. Every regime over the last 2 decades has built on the work of its predecessors, generating a cumulative and durable impact. Till 2003-4, UP's sugar mills together could crush barely 400,000 tons of cane per day. The Samajwadi Party government's sugar industry promotion policy of 2004 induced large investments, both in new mills and brownfield expansions. By 2006-7, aggregate crushing capacity had crossed 700,000 TCD. What is TCD? I'll have to get on that. Anyway, the state's 120 sugar factories today have a combined crushing capacity of 7 million. How do you say 787,275 TCD? Much of it coming up during Mulayam Singh Yadav's term from late 2003 to mid 2007. What Mulayam's SP did for sugar, the present BJP administration under Yogi Adityanath has done in ethanol. Between 2016-17 and 2021, UP's ethanol output has more than doubled from 43.25 crores to 107.21 crore liters. That's amazing. And is projected at 160 crore liters this year. The number of distilleries too has risen from 44 to 75. Mayawati's BSP government from 2007 till 2012 can take credit for cumulatively hiking cane prices by Rs 120 per quintal, as against 65 and 35 by the succeeding Akhilesh Yadav led SP and Adityanath's dispensation, and also ensuring timely payments to farmers. In sum, UP's sugarcane success story is a product of effort of all three ruling regimes. As for widespread impact, sugarcane is cultivated on about 2.5 million hectares in UP. That's a lot of hectares. 2.5 million hectares in UP. The whole of northern UP is a Ganna Pradesh. That includes the district in northwest from Saharanpur to Moradabad down to Bulandshahr and Badaun. North central, Rampur, Bareilly, Shahjahanpur, Hardoi, right up to Lakhimpur Kheri, Sitapur. And northeast, Baresh, Gonda, Ayodhya till Kushinagar, Deoria, UP. Cane is grown mostly in the upper Doabs, the lands between state's southern flowing rivers. The northwest Ganna belt, West UP, covers the riverine plains between Yamuna, Ganga and Ram Ganga. The north central Doab between Ram Ganga, Gomti and Sharda, Ghagra, and northeast between Sharda, Ghagra, Rapti and Gandak, extending to Bihar. The impact of sugarcane isn't only geographic. Taking an average 1 hectare land holding, UP would have 2.5 million cane farmer families. The state produces 200 million tons plus of cane annually. 200 million tons plus of cane. That's a lot of tons of cane, dude. A single laborer can harvest 1 ton daily at best. Assuming 150 work days during the crushing season from November to April, harvesting will engage nearly 1.5 million laborers. Another half a million would be employed in the mills, distilleries, gourd making, and transport of cane, sugar, molasses, and alcohol. All in all, some 4.5 million families in UP are directly dependent on sugarcane. Inclusive of their members, they add up to 20 million persons. One in every 12 out of UP's total estimated 240 million population. That has an exclamation mark behind it. UP has a population of 240 million. Oh my god, that's insane. The creation of new milling and distillery capacities isn't the sole factor, though for Ganna Pradesh's transformation. No less important has been CO0238, the blockbuster cane variety. Nice, CO0238. The blockbuster cane variety bred by Bakshiram. From virtually zero till 2012-13, it now accounts for over 85% of UP's cane area. CO0238 has boosted both average ganna yields and sugar to cane recovery in the state from 60 tons per hectare and 9.25% to 80 tons and 11.5% respectively. Yet Ganna has suffered bad press because of its apparently high water requirement. I was going to come to that. Ganna requires a lot of high water. Ganna requires a lot of water to produce, roughly twice that of paddy and 4 times of wheat. Wow. This analysis ignores the fact that sugarcane is grown over 11 to 12 months compared to 4 to 5 months for the latter crops. Further, the worst Ganna grower harvests 40 tons per hectare, whereas the best wheat and paddy farmers' yields are 7 to 9 tons. Sugarcane consumes less water per day and even less for every unit of biomass produced. Interesting. It, its green top leaves, moreover, fill the fodder needs of animals through the winter and spring months. Its green top leaves, moreover, fill the fodder needs of animals through the winter and spring months. Proponents of the water guzzler theory may also not know that cane contains around 70% water, 15% sugar, and 5% fiber. Sugar mills require no supply of external power or water. The bagasse fiber used as boiler fuel and the water that is heated to produce steam are both present in the cane itself. Wow. Also, hardly 2/5 of the resultant electricity generated is consumed by the mill. The rest is exportable power. A fifth of the water in cane is similarly rendered surplus, even after use for steam generation and processing in the mill. While water guzzling concerns are valid for sugarcane in Marathwada or Vidarbha, these do not apply to Uttar Pradesh. The lands between its confluent rivers have extremely fertile alluvial soils and no dearth of water, augmented by a network of canals. The eastern Yamuna and upper Ganga Canal irrigated the northwest districts. The Sharda Canal in north central and recently inaugurated Saryu Canal project of northeast UP. Mother Nature has already made Ganna highly efficient at carbon sequestration and a prolific biomass producer. And with its abundant water resources, there is no state better poised to realize the full potential of this champion crop. The next government in UP should look at how to make sugarcane part of the circular economy, wherein it gives back to nature what it takes. For farmers, Ganna is both a cash and a fodder crop. For mills, it is an energy crop producing sugar, ethanol, and power. Many of them are also treating their surplus water for irrigation purposes, besides supplying press mud. Press mud, very interesting. I wonder what that means. Many of them are also treating their surplus water. Many of them are also treating their Many of them are also treating the surplus water for irrigation purposes, besides supplying press mud. What is press mud? Does anybody know this? Press mud? Press mud. Press mud is the compressed sugar industry waste produced during filtration of cane juice. Press mud has lot of applications like fertilizers for extraction of chemicals as bioabsorbent animal feed, and in manufacture of cement. Damn nice. Press mud. Many of them are also treating their surplus water for irrigation purposes, besides supplying press mud. The residual cake after clarification and filtration of cane juice for use as compost fertilizer. More recent initiatives involve use of press mud as a feedstock for producing bio CNG and recovering of potash from distillery effluent after burning incineration boilers. For a country importing the bulk of its natural gas and potassic fertilizer requirement, this isn't a small thing. Indeed, there's a lot that the government taking charge after March 10 can do for Ganna. UP can take the lead in enforcing 12% and 15% ethanol blending in petrol, for which mass emission standards have already been notified. Mills should be paid on time for the renewable electricity they are supplying to the UP Power Corporation. Such dues now stand at over 300 crores, even touching 1500 crores at times. Damn. But last but not least is the need for transparent cane pricing. This should be formula based, linked to mills, realization from sugar and all byproducts, and any price above that paid from the state budget. With forward looking government policy, Uttar Pradesh can better Brazil. Wow. Actually, if you look at the population of Brazil population, Brazil's population is 21.26 crores. 21.26 crores is crores in million is I don't even know, but 216 million. So the population of Uttar Pradesh is more than the population of Brazil. So I think when it comes to competition, UP is already winning, at least in the population sphere. But this was an extremely interesting article when it comes to production of sugarcane. And I think I was one of the people who was thinking that sugarcane is a water guzzler, that it requires a lot of water to produce, it takes a lot of water to grow. Yeah, I was definitely one of the water guzzler theory people, and I thought there's no pride in having India being one of the top producers of sugarcane because of the amount of water it needs. We have a depleting water table situation in many parts of the country. But after reading this, I kind of feel like, damn man, sugarcane has a lot of good things going on for itself. Especially this fact that it says that 70% water, sugarcane contains 70% water, 15% sugar, and 15% fiber. And sugar mills require no supply of external power or water. I don't know how true this is, but sometimes you have to take it for what it is. Sugar mills require no supply of external power or water. The bagasse fiber used as boiler fuel and the water that is heated to produce steam are both present in the cane itself. This is very interesting. Bagasse, I pulled this up. Bagasse is the dry pulpy fibrous material that remains after crushing sugarcane or sorghum stalks to extract their juice. It is used as a biofuel for the production of heat, energy and electricity, and in the manufacture of pulp and building materials. Very, very interesting. Sugarcane for the win, and well done, Uttar Pradesh. It's nice to hear a good piece of news coming from a state which is so populous and so huge, and I think Uttar Pradesh should be considered a country in itself, man. With 240 million people, and the size and the amount of rivers and its diversity, it's got a lot of nice food as well. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Uttar Pradesh. Sometimes I feel like, I really want to travel across Uttar Pradesh, see it for what it is, and hopefully come out alive. Yeah, but I want to end this podcast with what I started it with, which was the Beijing Olympics, Winter Olympics, and what that country is doing by fielding the torchbearer as one of the PLA soldiers from the Galwan incident, which I think is extremely shameful because we all do this kind of thing in our own countries. This chest beating nationalistic approach, and China is taking that to another whole new level. And I feel like it's a good move by the Indian diplomatic team to boycott the event. And I think we need to say no more often. Yeah, saying no. As India talks to China, it must be prepared to lay down the red lines. Sometimes it's so important to lay down these red lines, because without laying down the red lines, we'll just be a pushover. Being a pushover is not a good thing, especially in diplomacy. India's decision to boycott the opening and closing ceremonies of the Beijing Winter Games was the right response to an unseemly provocation by China. Fielding a People's Liberation Army soldier who was involved in the August 2020 Galwan clash, in which India lost 20 of its brave soldiers. The Galwan clash, where India lost 20 of its brave soldiers. My salute to them. As an Olympic torchbearer, was a was a deliberate finger in Delhi's eye. Resort to this low tactic after India readily lent its support to the Games at a Russia China India foreign ministers meet just 2 months ago. This has always happened with India China relationships. India always supports everything that China does, and China just pokes an eye into India's goodwill. This is really weird. Yeah, February 4th, Winter Games are being held in an atmosphere of unprecedented tensions across the world, underlying the decision last year to add together to faster, higher, and stronger to the motto of the Olympic Games is the world's aspiration for peaceful coexistence, though the event itself is never free of international realpolitik. As host, China had the extraordinary opportunity to rise above the unpleasantness and reiterate a message of peace to the world, especially to those nations in its neighborhood with which it has territorial problems that it attempts to resolve unilaterally by the use of military force, which they did in the Galwan conflict. But the PLA torchbearer episode has done the opposite. Even if even if meant even if Beijing was dealing with domestic compulsions arising out of a belated acknowledgement of the casualties on its side, India is now the 10th country to announce a diplomatic boycott, which means that it will send no official delegation or diplomatic representative to the Games. The boycott does not extend to the sporting events at the game, but it has. The boycott does not extend to the sporting events at the Games, but it has marred President Xi Jinping's efforts to tell the world that the COVID pandemic has not affected China's ability to put up a perfect show. Though not of Delhi's making, the boycott is certain to add to the tensions between the two countries. While Delhi is engaged in military level talks with the PLA for disengagement and de escalation in eastern Ladakh, whatever little progress has been made has been offset by the massive Chinese buildup of infrastructure and warlike preparations on its side, particularly in areas opposite the strategic Depsang Plains, where Indian soldiers have been stopped from patrolling up to the Indian claim line since April 2020. Army Chief General M.M. Narawane has acknowledged that disputed borders with nuclear neighbors, coupled with state-sponsored proxy war, was stretching the country's security resources and apparatus. The government's work is clearly cut out. As India talks to China, it must be prepared to lay down the red lines in this difficult relationship, as it has done with the Games boycott. Preparing to lay down the red lines in a difficult relationship. It is so important, not just in international diplomacy, but also in our day to day relationships. We need to know when to say no, and it is so important to respect your own boundaries and some of the red lines that you would not cross in a relationship. What India and China are going through is one of the most important strategic miscalculations that is being done by China to make sure that India is provoked. And India is a 2 trillion, somewhere around $2.5 trillion economy, and China is heading towards being the largest economy in the world. So there is definitely a discrepancy when it comes to the might of the two nations. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that China is an economic superpower and a manufacturing hub of the world. So they have a big say in how the world works and the supply chain of the world. However, the kind of atmosphere that is being created by them is extremely disappointing and, you know, undiplomatic to say the least, because they do not, the way they are treating the countries around them. If you look at the South China Sea conflict, they have a conflict with every nation around them: Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan, India. I mean, the only country that they're doing well probably is with Russia, but even spoke to some Russian people as well, and they're telling us about how, like, people, the Chinese are building up infrastructure on the Russian border. Even though Russia and China are kind of colluding in this entire situation, and China has given support to Russia in this entire Ukraine episode. But damn, man, we really don't know where the world is headed. United States is kind of losing its edge as the leader, quote unquote, leader of the free world, and Europe has its own problem, an aging population. Russia is trying to annex into Ukraine. Ukraine is a little country that doesn't really have much going on for itself, and the economy is tanking. And China being China, is just doing what China does, which is giving the torchbearer to a soldier who was involved in the Galwan clashes. The Galwan clash was such a heartbreaking skirmish. It happened somewhere around 5th of May 2020. Yeah, 5th of May 2020, when Chinese and Indian troops engaged in aggressive melee face-offs and skirmish at the locations along the Sino-India border, including near the disputed Pangong Lake in Ladakh and the Tibet Autonomous Region, near the border between Sikkim and Tibet. And yeah, some people say that China suffered more casualties in Galwan, and some people say India suffered more casualties. But it's a known fact that China is known to be extremely aggressive, and they will do anything it takes to take over and take charge. And India is unfortunately surrounded by really hostile neighbors like Pakistan and China that are colluding in this weird proxy aggressive war, which is taking up so many resources of a country that has billions of people, like more than a billion people to take care of. So I really hope that, we find solutions to these disputes and countries move forward in a more humanistic way, rather than, trying to prove a point on the international stage at all times. And yeah, this is where we can end this episode of the NancoVerse podcast. I would want to thank everyone for listening in, whoever's listened to this point. And if you have any suggestions, any ideas, and if there are any people that you would want me to interview, please hit me up on Instagram at NancoVerse. My name is Namandatta, Namandatta, and you can also hit a comment on the YouTube comment section. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. Hit the subscribe button. Don't be shy. Do it. Do not do it. Don't be lazy. Just press the freaking subscribe button. Do it. And I want to wish everyone good health. Keep smiling. Stay hydrated. And yeah, you can find us on Spotify as well. I'll be posting all these the audio version of this episode on Spotify. So find the NancoVerse podcast on Spotify and share it with your friends, whoever's interested in the news, whoever interested in conversations for a better tomorrow. And I want to wish everyone adios amigos, love yourself, and if you don't, please do. Peace out.